so that then the court can be able to rely, will always rely in a good judgment, well-reasoned judgment. The court should be able to summon, or the owners of the case to be able to call for witnesses and the right records to inform the court, to help the court arrive at the right decision, is evidence from the ministry. So therefore, there is no reason why we should, as a ministry, not be able to rectify the records. When you look at the current section 79, yes, it's not clear that you can be able to alter that title. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, I have been asked what I have been doing. I have been utilizing that section severally. I have impugned some of the documents because they are obvious frauds, and therefore I'm not willing to take the dirty work of my ministry to the courts. Let the person alluding or alleging that they have a good title go take me to court, and that should happen to the same for everybody. What has the fraudsters have actually taken that section and utilized it in their favor, and you know they have the money to influence, to pay lawyers, good lawyers, and eventually you may be the owner of the title and find yourself losing. It has happened. We have several cases in the High Court, others in the Court of Appeal, where people, genuine owners of land, are struggling with judgments that don't make sense at all. And I do not want to go beyond that, but they don't make sense and they cannot. So therefore, we need to change the law to some extent to be able to give clarity to what the registrar should be able to do in the event that there is a clear fraud. I have taken the position that I will tackle the fraudsters. I have in one of the notorious cases, I was actually locked up in a suit premises, not a suit premises, in a property that is clearly the records. I found the records had actually been already rectified. The records were okay, but there is somebody also claiming they have a good title, and I was locked by goons within. I think the police were part of the system, so that even when we entered there with them, as a minister, Honorable Speaker, and if there is one time I feared, is that one time, because it was down the valley. Even if it meant me running up, I would have had a challenge to run the hill up. And these are young fraud, goons who have been put to guard this property. Maybe you should ask, why did I think I should go there? I'm taking this fight to the crime scenes, Honorable Speaker. And I'm willing to do that, because once I have established that this is a title, either for schools, for institutions, because these people have stolen land right, left, center. A lot of government land has been taken away, including prisons land. Institutions have lost land to them, to either people working within or people working within those institutions and other people. So I am taking the war to the crime scenes. And I believe that I need a lot of support from the police for purposes of enforcement. And but with the law, the answer is really dealing a big blow by use of the law, so that it is clear what we should do when we are faced with those kind of things. Yeah.
Junet.
Thank you, Chairman and Speaker. So, Mr. Chairman, my question to the nominee is, first, Madam Nominee, can you tell the committee, in the period that you are there as a Minister for Lands, you have been, as you have just put it now, you have been following up grabbed lands and land that have been grabbed. Can you mention which public land can you say you have recovered from grabbers as of now? And secondly, whether it was necessary for you to go to that scene, what necessitated you going to that place? Because how many land can you visit as a minister to go and that is a security issue, that is the enforcement issue. But more importantly, there was a bill that was authored from the ministry, the Lands Amendment Act, that was withdrawn by the majority leader. And you wanted to take the powers of the National Land Commission completely. What necessitated that? What was the reason behind why you wanted to usurp the powers of the Independent Commission? And lastly, the issue of disappearance of files in the Ministry of Land still exists. Kenyans go to the Ministry of Land, RD House, they can't find their files. And we have been told that land was being digitized since when the former cabinet secretary was there, Farida. Up to that time, up to now, from that time up to now, digitization is still going on. But files cannot be traced. When will this issue of disappearance of Kenyans' files end, Madam CS? Thank you very much. Nominees, thank you very much.
The Honorable Ishongwa had asked the same question on the what is our mandate vis-a-vis the mandate of the National Land Commission, and are we respecting the mandates of the, is there any issue? As far as I'm concerned, Honorable Speaker, there is no problem or challenge. We've not had any conflict or fight between my office and the office of the National Land Commission. In fact, I would say that I am having quite a cordial working relationship with the chairman and his commission. But that does not mean then we abscond or we abandon our duty, and therefore each has their mandate. Our main mandate in relation to titling is we are the ones, the minister is the one who does the leases. I take responsibility for all the leases, including those that are going around there that are fraudulent. Secondly, we also do the title deed or the certificates of title. That's done by my registrars. So to that extent, then, our work is different because the National Land Commission's main mandate is to manage public land, administration and management of public land. And the amendments that we were proposing were speaking to the valuation. I still think that I will be able to come and persuade Parliament that valuation of government projects land, compulsory acquisition should be, the valuations should be done by the owners of the project, by the government, because we are the, you see, the National Commission is an independent organ of this country. And therefore, if it is the government that is doing its projects, there is nothing wrong in them doing the evaluations between the buyer and the government. And therefore, I think those are some of the amendments we were proposing. That does not take any power of the commission given under the Constitution. I think you could talk about maybe the law, but anything that is not working for the government within the law then requires some changes. You are aware that we have had a big challenge as a government by overstating and overvaluing you may not be able to confirm in terms of the valuations, the integrity and the authority of that valuation. The chief government valuer is under my ministry, and therefore that is something we've been in the leases are, what they do is to provide allotment, is to allow allotment and give no objection for allotments to be issued by the county government, and therefore ensuring that public land is granted to only those who deserve to be granted the public land. And we have no dispute in respect of allotments of land between ourselves and the national government. So in terms of going, to how many places can I go? If I can go to 5 or 10 and provide the statement that is needed to stamp authority of the government in terms of telling the cartels that I'm here and I will not allow. And I can tell you, Honorable Speaker, it has worked to some extent. But I said what I need is the law to be explicit here, to be able to tackle the problem of cartel. Otherwise, nobody is safe with their title deed if we are not going to deal a death blow to cartels. And I'm willing to walk along that journey with the Parliament.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just make a brief comment because I was going to also ask some questions on the amendment bill number 2 of 2023, but since it was withdrawn from the House, I will not dwell on it in the House in Parliament. I'll not dwell so much on it, but just to let you know, in case this committee approves you and the National Assembly, if you rethink of bringing it back, please look at some of the clauses that I need, because from the events of this that happened in this country 2 months ago, you have realized that we have a very informed population in this country. And so that issue of NLC had come up, and Kenyans were with issues of land, and you know how land is emotive. The second thing that was on it that Kenyans raised was the issue of inserting a new clause which will force freehold land owners, property owners who enjoy free ownership for perpetuity and can use the land for any purposes, to pay land rate. You know, that was just a comment since it has been withdrawn. So to my question, one, who is a cartel? Every CS nominee talks of a cartel. I want you to explain to this committee your definition of cartel. The second question is the whole issue of the housing levy. By April 2024, the government had collected in excess of Kenya shillings 34 billion. How many houses can you confidently say have been constructed and completed as we speak? And lastly, with the Finance Act having been declared unconstitutional, I think yesterday, do you understand its import on the housing project, and what next if this committee then finds you suitable to hold that office? Thank you.
Take another. Nelson.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Mine is actually very brief. Affordable housing is one of the key pillars of Kenya Kwanza administration. In fact, the President has been many times quoted as saying it was a deliberate way of creating employment. I want to ask you, Honourable nominee, how many young people have been employed by this program? And number two, do you think this program is sustainable, and is it working?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I think it is important that even though Honourable Lesuda has not come by way of a question, for me to make one or two clarifications in respect of the authority and the mandate of the National Land Commission. Because many times there is misinformation or misunderstanding of the mandates. And I believe that there is no misunderstanding between ourselves and the National Land Commission. Sometimes it's just propaganda. If you look at Article 67, the functions of the National Land Commission are to manage public land on behalf of the national and county governments. 2, to recommend a national land policy to the national government. Indeed, I have one document already recommended, and we are working on the national land policy, reviewing it since 2009. The review is supposed to take place every 10 years. Then to conduct research related to land and use of natural resources and make recommendations to appropriate authorities. To initiate investigations on its own motion, that's regarding complaints, historical injustice, and all that. And then finally, then there is to encourage the application of traditional dispute resolution mechanisms to assess tax on land and premiums on immovable property in any area designated by the law, and to monitor and have oversight responsibilities over land use planning. So I believe that the bill, one of the bills was Honorable Leader of Majorities, and the other one was my bill. There was the very sticky issue that was floating around, which was actually an incorrect position, that we had planned to change freehold title to leasehold titles. One, it is practically not possible within the law for me sitting as a minister or any of my officers to change land tenure from one regime to the other, meaning from leasehold, freehold to leasehold. But with the application and consent of the owner, it is possible. So there was no provision that we had brought to do that. What raised maybe concern is the proposal to levy some charge or some fee on freehold ownership within our cities. Let me clarify again. The levy that we had proposed in the bill that was withdrawn was levy on freehold land within cities. So far, by the description of cities under the Urban Areas and Cities Act, we have Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, and Eldoret is soon coming on board because it has been approved. So 5 cities. But the...
Chair, sorry to interrupt the CS, but because we are House of Records, and she has mentioned a bill that I have sponsored, which what she has said is not accurate. The bill that I had sponsored initially is what then became the Owen Bayer bill, amending the National Lands Commission Act on Section 14 and 15 of the National Lands Commission Act to vest powers to the NLC Act. What Honorable Lesuda was asking is regarding the bill of the Land Amendment Bill number 2 of 2023, which I withdrew, which came from...
Which was our bill, yes.
And the issue she has raised is the issue of rates on freehold land. And in the bill again, it was not clear whether it was in cities. It is actually the Committee on Lands of the National Assembly that in their report proposed that you limit that to cities. So I think it's good.
Yeah, the process was ongoing. I agree and I accept.
What came from the ministry is not what you are saying.
The bill was ours, but there were many proposals to amend even that bill. And so far, maybe the argument is, I'm making this for clarification, that there was no proposal for rates, because rates are not payable to the national government or the Ministry of Lands. Rates are payable to the county governments, and they are doing their own review of rates. We were proposing a levy or a charge on freeholds, because freeholds within the cities then therefore are enjoying facilities and they are paying nothing. And maybe I could say here that if you look at where the freeholds in this country and in this city, for example, using Nairobi, Honorable Speaker, is that the freeholds are within the Karen, the Muthaiga, the Lavington, and it's important that I say maybe some areas of Kirereshwa, Kitisuru, Kiuna, those upmarket areas. Why? I think it was a skewed way of raising tax against some people and not everybody. So that if you go to the whole of Eastland and the Southlands, then you'll find that, you know, areas of all these areas, you know, that I haven't mentioned, they are paying rates and they are paying land rent, both. And therefore, in other countries, what is happening is that if you have a freehold, then you pay, including any other land, you pay some development tax, because the land that you are sitting on is actually has been developed to equal. In this country, then we are having some people paying and others are not paying. And I think that is a conversation that we will be able to bring back to the National Assembly for debate and discussion, and also robust public participation and debate. And I don't think there is nothing wrong in saying that, but we must understand that in other jurisdictions, what is happening is that there is payment of charge against land where developments have come and they were not there before, because anyway these developments must be funded by either the land or by a taxpayer. So and I think that is what was taken to mean that we are charging a charge on freehold, and there is likelihood.
Alice Wahome, you are being too wordy.
Yeah.
The word of the Speaker.
You can say what you are saying in very concise terms.
Yes.
Yes.
Word of the Speaker.
Yes.
The Speaker,
I believe I have maybe exhausted.
Hold it, there's a point
Yes.
of order there.
Yeah.
The Speaker, it is good to have clarity on this matter, because that bill was as well a controversial bill. It is very important to have clarity here that the proposal that came from the ministry was that all freehold land be changed to leasehold in the whole republic. It is Parliament, a committee of this Parliament, and that's why Parliament must be given credit to where they do their work, that is suggesting to them that we should maybe do it in cities. But the ministry, what they brought to Parliament was that they want even the ancestral land that somebody is holding a freehold in Migori. They wanted to change it to leasehold. For what? She should tell us why, what was informing that, instead of now hiding under Parliament.
Alice, why?
The provision was saying that the minister will be able to designate the areas, which then means you designate through regulations, and I would still have had to come to Parliament to be allowed the designated areas that we would have picked. So and therefore the proposal by Parliament I commend. I think it helped and it improved the provision.
Mule?
Thank you, Chair, and I'm sorry I didn't want to interrupt.
You have interrupted, just go on.
Chair, we are in a vetting process, and the leader of majority and the leader of minority have stated the actual position, but the nominee, she's trying to run away from the reality. The reality is that the bill which came to the House exactly wanted to levy even the ancestral land in this country, and it came from the ministry. She was the CS. So instead of using too many words, please admit we move forward, because at the end of the day Kenyans could not accept your proposal, and it came from you. It did not come from the House of Parliament.
Speaker.
It did not come from Kenyans. It came from your office.
Yes, sure.
Yes, Alice.
Speaker, I said that the proposal had indicated that the minister will designate areas where the levy will be. It was not blanket, because it is not possible to collect.
Point of order,
it is not possible to collect levy in the entire country.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
that is true. But why do you want to subject a land that is in Bungoma or Migori for a minister who's sitting in Nairobi to designate whether it will be a freehold or a leasehold? Why do you want to do that? Just say it was wrong to do that, and now you are rectifying it. You are agreeing with Parliament for that issue to become a city's issue. And we move on, Madam C. You are a former member of Parliament here.
I think the clarity I have made, I have even given credit to Parliament, but I have said that it is Parliament that was going to give me permission to say where to levy the. Yes.
Point of order.
Okay.
A brief one.
Yes. Yes, Naisula.
Thank you, Speaker. And I just want to put it to the nominee, and from what the majority leader had said to another nominee here, that one of the challenges of the cabinet that was there before is communication, because Kenyans are not understanding what you want to do. When they raise questions, it is said to be propaganda, but now we have confirmed here today that it is actually the truth. And so I think moving forward, if you're confirmed, and the last thing also is when there is public participation and Kenyans have an issue with a clause or with a matter in a bill, it should be discussed thoroughly and given the view of those because the bill could be good, everything else could be good, and we have one contentious issue. Could we exhaust it? Because I can assure you, after what happened in Parliament, these parliamentarians will not be a rubber stamp anymore to any issue that will be contentious, Madam Nominee. So that is all I wanted to do, so that we could make progress.
Yeah, thank you. I would hate a parliament that is a rubber stamp. It's of no use to anybody, even themselves. But and I agree with you. This bill had not even gone to second reading, where the debate was going to happen. And during debate, the proposals for amendments would obviously, by the House, I think the subject was still...
We'll make progress. What the members are telling you is that a bill came from your ministry with these contentious proposals to the House. When it was picked up and spread like wildfire, the ministry maintained a conspiracy of silence. Instead of coming up to say, it was our bill, we withdraw it so that you quell the fire, you said nothing. But that is, let's move on. Posing?
Thank you, Speaker. I think there is need for better communication.
Yes.
I agree with you throughout the entire government, including my former ministry.
Yes, even His Excellency the President has said, lamented, that one of the weaknesses in the government is poor communication. You are doing good things which nobody knows, and when you do bad ones, you don't own up.
Questions on housing levy.